David. This is Josh, as you already know. And we have someone new. This is Nick.
How's it going?
And we are What Game Now? So, we're recording the next episode of our War Machine Escalation series. As you can see, we have some our small armies from the two-player battle box on the table, but also some cool minis that Nick has done for, is it the Grymkin?
They're the Grymkin.
Okay. Nick is here, because I'm sure you're wondering why we got another guy. Nick plays and judges and organizes tournaments for a lot of miniatures games. War Machine, Warhammer, just about anything. And he's here today to guide us through our how-to. So today we're going to record the second episode of the Escalation series, and it's going to be a how-to. So Nick's going to show us how the game is played with the armies that we have, and so that we can learn. And I thought the best way to do that was to have someone who knew what they were doing to show us, because books, they're great, but sometimes it's best just for someone to show you. So before we start with that, though, I see that you primed a couple there.
Yes. I saved some for the videos.
No, it's fine. So just to let people know, we're going to be painting these as well as we go along, and all that stuff will be recorded. Should have all of our assembly videos up when this one comes out. But I want to take a moment to talk to Nick a little bit about War Machine, since it's kind of like his favorite. He travels around and plays it all over the place. So just about everywhere you can get to, I think, right?
Pretty well everywhere within about a 6-hour radius.
Yeah. So tell us just a little bit about, just a little bit about how you got started in War Machine to start with.
So I got started in 2010, around the time a expansion book called Wrath came out. And I picked up the game because I'd been playing Warhammer Fantasy, I'd been playing 40K, and I had just come off of a fantasy tournament where I literally saw somebody's army completely disappear and they didn't get to play the game.
No.
Okay, it was a complete and utter massacre, and it wasn't a case of, well, the dice went bad, this person never stood a chance. And that, going to tournaments and all that, that hurts a lot when you go to a tournament.
Yeah.
You spent how much money, how many hours of the day, usually an entire day, sometimes a weekend, going to a tournament, and you got smashed because your army sucks.
Right.
And I was looking around the shop, and they had this game War Machine on the shelf. And the great thing about War Machine, as I was talking to the shop owner, is it is designed as a game first. So the entire, all the designers do, yes, it's based in the fiction of the universe, but it is a game first. If there's a problem where in the fluff this happens, but it's broken in the game wins.
Okay.
They take a very active role in balancing. They come out with a clean product. They make sure that when you read their rules, the terminology is consistent. I'm in a 40K group right now. They're discussing the difference between stationary and not moved, and whether that's the same thing or not. If it was War Machine, they would not be the same thing, because they use two different words. If they meant the same thing, they would have used the same words. The designers take the effort to do that.
Right.
It was also sold to me because, on average, a War Machine army is cheaper than a Warhammer army.
Yes.
The box price per model is higher, but the model count is dramatically lower.
Correct, yeah.
I've played War Machine armies with 13 models.
Right, yeah. It all depends on what you add to it, just like any other miniatures game, but it's one of the things that and I'm not an expert in it, as I've told them before, but what I like about War Machine, from what little bit that I've played it before or seen it played before, is it's when it comes to playing the game, it's kind of model centric. It's not just like, whole unit of like 50 dudes smacks you around for 100 dice. And
so like in a game like Warhammer, if I charge this unit and I engage one guy in hand to hand, the entire unit's in hand to hand.
Right.
In War Machine, you can just leave that guy behind.
Yeah. So there's no like coherency.
There is coherency, but you're free to leave it.
Okay.
There are penalties but you are totally free to leave it.
And we'll save that for when we actually start playing a little bit.
Other big advantage with War Machine is because it is designed as a game first, they try to make sure that the game is both fun to play and is interactive. Very rarely are you going to see my opponent is going to basically do their own thing and tell me, okay, well, pick that model up, it's dead.
Right.
You're going to have something you can do.
And one of the things that I've read about War Machine, that some people don't like, but I think is pretty awesome, is that from what I understand, it benefits you to do things. Like
it is not a game for passive players.
Exactly.
If your plan is to castle up in a corner and wait for your opponent to come to you, they will engage you on their terms, and they will utterly annihilate you.
Correct.
The difference with War Machine versus, say, Warhammer is you made that decision in War Machine.
Right.
In Warhammer, that's the only way your army works.
Sometimes it is.
You're playing dwarves. That's dwarves in old fantasy. That's the only way your army worked. You were forced to fight an opponent, and they got to pick the terms of the engagement, and they would just steamroll you.
Yeah. So
that is just kind of a few notes of War Machine. Some concerns people have about it. It is a very, I don't want to say tournament focused, but it is a very game mindset.
Right.
This is a game first, and it has to be a good game first and foremost.
Right.
So people are going to complain about things like balance and things like that.
So it's like fighting games that impose penalties on overly defensive players.
Well, yeah, War Machine's going to do it in that just the nature of the game mechanics. You are going to have a very rough time. Not that you can't play defensively. You have to play an active defense.
Right.
You have to go out and disrupt your opponent's combo. You can't let it happen.
Yeah.
You can't just sit back in a corner and wait for them to do it.
Wait for it, and then bam.
Yeah, they're just going to level you.
Yeah.
Other common complaints I've heard about War Machine for people who just enjoy it. War Machine is a very game-focused universe. There aren't as many novels and source books and all that for the universe. There is fiction. There are a couple novels out there. They have campaign books, although those have largely stopped. Most of the fiction has moved to a free online format. Mm-hmm. The other major complaint people have, and this is a complaint for some people and a strength for others, is that the War Machine developers publicly beta test all their models. So this army you see here is called the Grimkin. That entire faction went through 6 weeks of public beta test. Here are the rules. Here's what they do. Go play games. Break them. And they did. And a lot of this stuff was dramatically changed from what it was with that feedback. But they also keep going. Once the product is released, that doesn't mean it's untouchable. They will go back and say, okay, well, this was too powerful. We're going to public beta test a new tweak to try and tone it down.
Okay.
Some people don't like that because, well, you're changing my models, or they'll see the change, view it as a complete nerf. This model is now useless and feel like they bought nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what the public beta test is for, to find out something everyone's okay with. There's also the concern of you have to keep up to date with the rules. Now, the Privateer Press website's very good for this. All the rules are available for free. Another advantage of the game system. Everything's totally free. All the rules. You just have to buy the models. There's no codexes. The rulebook is free. Nothing.
Right.
There is an app you can pay for, but it also does army building and damage tracking and some other stuff. But the core rules are free. But you have to go out and see, okay, well, here's an errata. What's the update? What changed?
Right.
You can't just buy a book off the shelf and trust that that book is 100% accurate nowadays.
Right.
For example, you got a rule book in the two-player starter box.
Right.
It is wrong. They have made changes to it. But they're changes that went through beta testing and was based on feedback. They're like, hey, this mechanic is too convoluted and it doesn't do anything. We're just going to pull it. Or there are some cases of actively mechanics that actively hurt you.
Right.
There was one unit in a faction that was literally unplayable until they made a recent change. Because when they charge into hand-to-hand combat, they get to shoot after they end their charge.
Right.
Well, if you miss, you roll against somebody else in the combat. So if you have two guys charge the same target, you might hit your buddy. They were really good at killing each other. And they really, really had problems hitting targets.
Yeah.
So they did a really good job. You would charge this 5-man unit in, and two of them would die to your own guys.
Right. And we mentioned that when we were pulling everything out. I mentioned that paper books are they're just
They're going away.
going to.
You can buy a physical book. It's there. You just have to understand that they will make changes to this.
Yeah.
And some people get offended when I spent $60 on a rule book and now it's wrong. Or, well, why didn't you test it more? They have to release the product eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in the camp of this is a good thing.
No, I agree.
I would rather see developers make changes. Say, okay, this is a problem. Let's fix this. Then let it simmer for 3 years until they get around
Right.
to doing the entire army. I'm looking at you, Games Workshop.
Or they do private. Yeah, exactly. Or they do private play testing, release a model.
It's
know,
comically overpowered.
and then that's like a thing with some companies, like you said, Games
The
Workshop.
clear
where
bias of
it's like,
affection they like
boom.
more.
So there's bias. There's like some people love the faction. They put a lot more effort into it. If you actually talk to the Games Workshop writers, they stopped putting credit. They stopped crediting writers, and that was one of the reasons why. It's because not everyone's excited about every faction,
Right.
and you can tell when somebody got a faction they were excited for because that book was overpowered. Now they have gotten better, and they are doing annual updates. But the thing about their updates are there's no beta testing, there's no public
Right.
discussion. It's, okay, well, we dropped this or we upped this.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Well, that's the whole thing that we.
They also only tweak point costs.
Well,
War Machine guys will actively remove and add rules.
We have to. We'll have to make a video where we go over all those interesting Games Workshop things or other game company things. I think
I
that's
have rants.
interesting. Yeah.
Okay, if they want, I can rant for hours.
Might be its own playlist.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So.
Give me a microphone. We don't need the video. I'll bring up pictures. I will rant for 5 hours on different miniature games. Just
And then we'll have someone do like animation.
And here's the thing, yeah. So there's no claims of bias. I can rant about problems in War Machine too.
Oh yeah, there's problems in every game. To be honest with you,
Yeah, it's just I look at other games and it's like, wow, that's really unfortunate that happens.
yeah, every game has its issues. But before we move on to the how-to section, I did want to mention something about what he said, and I did mention it in the last the first episode of it. Is that he says the rules are free online, and that's at privateerpress.com, and I'll put the link below, in the description to the rules. But also, I could probably put a link down there with like App Store stuff. Is it App Store and Google Play?
Yes, War Room. It's War Room 2.
War Room.
If you see a War Room and a War Room 2, get War Room 2. I don't know if they pulled the original one off yet. If you see 2 War Rooms, get the one called War Room 2. It has orange imagery and all that.
Right.
It's available on all the iOS and Apple. And
it comes with all the units from the 2-player starter box.
It comes with all the 2-player starter box models for both War Machine and Hordes, and all of the starter box models for all of the armies.
That's the other thing for those who aren't familiar with the game at all. You'll see 2 different things here. This is War Machine, and these are, well, that one can be used as a War Machine model, but
let me tackle
but
this.
the Hordes.
So you will have heard references to War Machine, and you will have heard references to Hordes.
Right.
They are 2 halves of the same game system. Their rules are in the same rulebook. There is one rulebook. The game is collectively referred to as War Machine because that's the half that came first. But the War Machine and Hordes, it's one game. They are fundamentally designed to be played against each other. There is no distinction between the 2 in terms of how you approach it. The difference on them is mechanically. So War Machine uses a resource called Focus, which acts a lot like gasoline. Okay. You get a certain amount per turn, you allocate it out, and your guys expend it to do things.
Okay.
Right.
Hordes is more of a risk management thing. When the War Beasts go out, they don't spend anything to do the crazy stuff. They generate a resource called Fury. And you have to take that away from them, or they will go crazy and start eating your own guys.
So yeah, what I wanted to kind of get with that is to say, because we'll go into some more of the gameplay stuff.
It's one game, 2 halves.
Right.
That's the long and short.
If you're not into, for whatever reason, I don't know, but steam-powered robots and the Warjack stuff and some of the
you can
more
go play
fancy
you can go play giant monsters.
You can go play giant monsters.
It's one game. There's no distinction.
And
if you go to a tournament, War Machine, Hordes, it's the same thing.
So, and we're trying to push to our 100 subscribers, so keep an eye out for a video where we might give away one of those not giant monsters, but one of the bigger monsters. I have, I think was it
The War Beast.
the War Beast?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a War Beast still in the box from the shop, and
I think it's a Chiron.
we'll be
That'd be good.
looking to do some giveaway stuff so that we can bump up the subscribers. We're really trying to get just our URL to make it easier to pass out to people. So that's our first goal is 100 subscribers. But and I can do the same thing about all kinds of games, but I know that Nick can talk about War Machine all day, but we need to get into the actual gameplay. So let's go ahead and do that. Everybody
Okay.
ready? Okay. Hey, this is Dave. If you like what we're doing here at What Game Now, go ahead and click on one of the videos which should be on either side of me, or click right in the middle and go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the bell once you subscribe so that you know when we have new videos. Please go ahead and share us with your friends. Let everybody know that we're here. Thank you for watching, and thank you for all of our subscribers already. And we look forward to bringing you more content every chance that we get.